I'm Bill.
And I'm Candace.
And we're the Disruptors. Wow, there
Yay.
it is. Yeah, boy, we're the best there is.
We can't help ourselves.
No,
Bill.
we can't. No, we cannot. And for anybody in the listening audience that wants to actually have a personalized, we are the best pat on the back, give us a call. We'll tell you how great we are.
Yeah, why not?
Yes, absolutely. Today we're going to jump into an ugly, muddy situation, which really needs to be talked about. And that's what goes on in controlling your company.
It does. And one of those pieces is identifying fraudulent behavior.
Okay.
So before we start, let's just talk about a couple of stories.
Well, let's start with case studies right off the get-go.
So, we have the privilege of going into a variety of different business structures and business styles, and it's a lot of fun. It's our passion. It's what we do to help change the world. And so recently we'd been in a church, a nonprofit. And what we discovered was the fact that, one, the church was not filing taxes, and neither was the pastor.
Oh, so there was no income tax or no other responsibilities that go with running a church.
Right. And so what we have to understand in that is that the number one crime in America is tax evasion. That's
number one. Wow.
And so, just understand that when people don't pay their taxes, we, as a society, we moan, groan, complain when they want to raise our taxes. But when you have that to be the number one crime, that people don't want to pay what is due, and I'm not saying don't look for creative ways to, save your company or your nonprofit money. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that, you should pay what is rendered to the government, because that actually affects all the bottom line. So imagine, which I don't even know, I couldn't find how much in taxes is unpaid for the United States. I think that if this is common, I also know of other companies. I know of in a healthcare industry, there's an individual that, like, every 7 years they owe taxes, and every 7 years they just file bankruptcy. And that's how they get out of paying taxes.
Oh, that eliminates the taxes if you're bankrupt.
I've got, so that's how not paying taxes, a couple of different ways. Also, there's another way. Whenever we're diving in, we're looking at how the people that you've hired is, siphoning or taking your profits and putting them into their pockets.
Uh-huh.
And a couple of stories on that. An employee has access to your checks, and the employee stole those checks. And what they did was they basically spent over $75,000 in a weekend. When the feds, because it's a federal crime, is involved, they're like, oh, it's not enough money to really worry about. But at what point is there enough money to worry about? The insurance covered the business, so the business wasn't out. Although the business was out. The time, the energy, the emotional stress, then having to fire the employee, hire somebody. I mean, this takes a toll on a company.
Plus, it's a loss of good productivity time.
Absolutely, which costs big money for a small business. The other story here that I want to bring to the table is payroll. Company hands the check to the employee. The employee takes a picture of the check, deposits it. They take a picture of the check, and then what they do is they go to a check cashing company.
Oh, I see.
Okay. So now, instead of, let's just say $300 a month or $300 for that week period, now they're getting $600 for that.
On that same $300 check.
And had the company not been overdrawn,
they would probably not notice.
They would have never known. And so, if the number one crime in America is tax evasion, then we can only imagine at how much theft, white-collar crime, as far as fraudulent behavior, is actually in companies. And so...
Amazing. Wouldn't it be to be able to add all that up and see how many billions of dollars a year are actually disappearing?
What if everyone actually paid their taxes and it all went to paying our debt?
We wouldn't be 16 trillion or wherever we're at.
Well, we might not be. We'd at least be able to take a dent in it. So that's what we want to look at, because theft is big business that can put a business out of business very quickly. So I wanted to go over, because we've really had quite a few companies that we've discovered embezzlement, theft in inventory pieces, to a variety of other things.
So we were really looking at, there's more than just one way to make money out of a company if you're an employee with dishonest thoughts.
There is. And as an owner, or a CEO, as your time is constantly being pulled at, right? I mean, we've got business meetings, we've got, you're looking new market share. You're always looking
everything
at how to increase your reach. I mean, it's all a lot to put on one person. So that's why you hire people, right? So that the burden doesn't just land on your shoulders, but you can foster that and share that. When you have a fox in the hen house, how do you know?
Yeah, don't. Unless you just keep an eye on the rooster.
Well, the rooster.
The rooster should be telling us the fox is in the hen house.
Well, that's one way of looking at it.
That's right.
So here's some things that you want to take a look at, okay?
Okay.
So controlled access. If you have an individual that controls the access to data, reports, and even certain individuals, that's a red flag for you as you're looking at things. And what I mean by controlled access, meaning, maybe they're not running the reports. I do understand that there's protections, let's say, for intellectual property and different things. But as an owner, you have every right to have 110% access to any report, any data, any given moment, at any time. I've actually had business owners be locked out of that type of data, which is kind of strange. We talk about it and it's like, are you kidding me? But in reality, no, we have had people and CEOs and owners of companies that employees would not give them access to certain data. So that's a red flag. Inconsistencies in reports, data, or people. So they give excuses and excuses and excuses.
Oh, everything's there, but I left the report at home. My dog ate paperwork, but I'll have it ready by next Monday.
Yeah, we're supposed to do that inventory count, and I don't know what happened.
I don't either.
We'll get to that next week.
We'll have it on your desk in no time at all.
It'll be there.
Yes, it will.
That's a red flag. Falsified data. No way to verify what information that employee is giving you. You should be able to verify, especially when it comes down to your numbers, exactly what's happening. Because numbers tell a story. And this is far more than just an accounting problem. It's actually a people, process, and systems problem. When you don't have accountability to your employees, and you've created an opportunity that it's a great big temptation, then you really are asking for trouble. If the employee has painted a picture that's really too good to be true, that's another red flag.
So that means that if you're not really in control of the information that's going on in the data, they can put together whatever picture they want to and sell it to you, and you assume everything's fine. And then all of a sudden, maybe at the end of the quarter or the end of the year or whatever, the truth comes out.
Absolutely. So here's some things that we've noticed working with companies. Is the person that's reconciling the bank statement also a check signer? You never want that.
You want it separate.
The two worlds shall not meet.
Oh, they shall not meet. Okay.
So to speak, right? Because if you're the signer, these are just safeguards to put up. So if you're the signer,
right,
and the one that's reconciling the books, I think there might be a problem there.
There could be a little bit of a drift, yeah.
Or how about if you have a checkbook, right, that has a stamp. Nobody signs the check.
They just
stamp it. That's another. That should not ever happen. There should be someone in the company that's assigned to be able to handle that. That they just write the checks for stuff coming in, the lights to be on, the bills to be paid.
The bills to be paid, the standard expenses that a company runs into.
Absolutely. And if you don't have that person, you can hire a firm to do that for you. We talk about, that's just costing us more money. What's better? Paying a firm to do those type of actions, or putting something in front of people that possibly you could be losing a ton of money for. You need to weigh that out. Also, if you have multiple bank accounts, when a business has multiple bank accounts, it's easy to rob Peter to pay Paul because nobody really is knowing what's going on, and it's easy to take a little here and a little there, and that can literally add up to thousands of dollars in a very short amount of time, and then tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands over a longer period.
Yeah, but don't most of the big corporations and or small companies too always set up a double checking account situation? So if something goes wrong with one bank or whatever, or there is, like you said, embezzlement going on, and they seal up those bank records and everything, that you can still operate from the other bank while you're getting a conclusion to whatever happened to you as far as embezzlement or
it's pretty common for banks, for companies to have multiple bank accounts. For example, I like to see a company have a separate account that they just deposit money in at payroll time.
Right.
So that if something is awry, if somebody is doing what we just explained earlier in the show, you can, when you get that NSF, you can track down exactly, quickly, in almost real time, what just happened. So that's why a lot of companies have gone to direct deposit.
Very true.
So you deposit it, it's done. That's why ADP.
I believe it's ADP, yeah. It takes it out. And there's some other ones that do the same thing.
There are cash, payroll.
Payroll deductions, and which is really great because then you have also all the paperwork needed if you get into an audit situation.
You do.
By the government.
You do. And I think that it's important, once again, there's accountability, right? If you've noticed someone that has a controlling personality or even a secretive behavior, let me tell you, if your gut is telling you something, you should investigate. Be curious enough in your company to ask the hard questions and get the real answers. On your accounts, on your financial statements, what do you not understand? And I think that sometimes people don't ask the questions because they don't understand the information that's sitting there in front of them. And so I think that's really, really important. Become friends with your CPA.
Sure.
Right?
Get to know him.
If you don't like how they do their business, or you don't feel that they're doing an adequate enough job, listen, this is a piece of capitalism that I absolutely love. Shop around. Find somebody on your team that's going to look at your books, that's going to work on behalf of you and what you're wanting to create. Also, if you have a budget, a lot of small businesses, they don't put together a budget. And the problem with that is that when you run the company loosey-goosey and you don't have a budget, you can't compare the budget to the actual expenditures.
True. So how do you know where you are?
You don't. How about running inventory numbers? Is your inventory
matching with what's on the shelf?
Yes, because if you have, let's say you've got, I don't know, I'm just going to throw this out in the air. Let's say you've got 10,000 items.
Okay.
Okay. But you don't really know for sure. The actual number, let's say, comes back that you only have 7,000 items.
3,000 disappeared.
Where did those go?
Yeah.
And how much money are we looking at? And if you are keeping inventory numbers, it should be reconciled every month, and you should every quarter do a physical count of what it is. Then that way it's quick. Your numbers should not lie. And you can spot check your inventory. I know, the very first thing I hear is groans of, oh, no.
Not another inventory. No, geez. I've done this before.
But you can lose a lot of money very quickly.
Not knowing if your stock's on the shelf or where it's at.
And that affects the bottom line. And you might think you have all of this inventory. In reality, you don't. So spot checking every month, that doesn't mean that you take, all 10,000 pieces and you count them. It means, okay, where are we at with this number, or this SKU, or